gave chase, you fled away. You laughed in my face when I begged you stay. Yeah. I crawled down.
Welcome back to Lamp Oil Stock, an Israelite channel where we talk about different issues that have to do with Israelites from an Israelite point of view. And we're continuing with our ongoing series of the Red Letter Bible series, part number 9. But before we continue, take a moment right now and hit the subscribe button or the like or
dislike.
Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the broadcasts that we're putting out. Videos. Let us know about the videos that we're putting out. And as I said, we're going to be continuing on with our series. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to be reading Matthew 5, verses 27 through 32.
Okay.
Verse 27, Matthew 5, verse 27 says, Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her, hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. It hath been said, Whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery.
Okay. So this is actually quite a bit of verses to look at once.
Right.
Got a few bit. So let's kind of tear it apart as we go, and we'll talk about it as, kind of break it all down.
Okay, so if we look at verse 27, it's talking about the law of adultery and
Right.
how this is not something you should do. Now, when we look at verses 28, 29, and 30,
Right.
he's giving you an idea of all of the measures you should go through in order to not sin, right?
Well, now I'm with you. The extents you should go through to prevent sin.
Well, 28 is telling you that lust starts in the heart.
Right.
Right? And I looked up verses on the heart, and there's a lot of verses that are dealing with the heart and how sin, begins in the heart or is in the heart before you actually take the action. So
Right.
28 is not adding a new law. It's just telling you what has already been said time and time again throughout the Bible. And then 29 and 30 tell you to, what extremes to go through in order to not sin. Because, it would be very difficult for me to pluck out my eye.
Right.
But it would be better if I did than for me to lust after something. Because it doesn't have to be someone. It could be anything.
Right.
Or to cut off my hand if I touch someone or have the feelings of touching someone. It'd be very difficult for me to cut off my hand. So, but one of the things you should do in order to not have to go to those extremes are maybe like I got into trouble with adultery when we were having a hard time before we became Israelites, where I cheated in my heart with somebody that I found online. Remember? Go ahead.
I'm not going to say a
sad.
word. I'm not going to say a word. We're not. It's
And
your story.
downtrodden.
This is your story.
But we were having a difficult time, and I felt like I couldn't talk or deal with him, so I was online. I met somebody online, and I started talking to them. So it was easier for my heart to go away from my husband than it was to and go to this person than it was to deal with the problems I was having with my husband and try to work through them.
Like I said, I ain't gonna say a word.
No, shut up. So me and my husband have had hard times since then. Those are seasons that come around. But now I won't get online and start talking to people. As a matter of fact, I won't really talk to anybody until me and my husband have worked it out. That way I know that I'm not going to allow my heart to lead me somewhere that it shouldn't go.
Okay, now, just to put a highlight on this while we're talking about it, this is not because, and this actually goes to this next verse here. Okay, the issues between me and you, which don't need to go into specifics, right? Mm-hmm. But part of the issue was me pushing you away. With the problems that we were having, it was me pushing you away, which leads you to talk to other people at the time.
Right.
And we're going to look at this next verse. It has been said, whoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writ of divorcement. Now, this particular verse is actually going back to Deuteronomy.
Right, it's going back to the law. He's talking about the law here again.
Right. And that's in Deuteronomy 24.
Verse 1.
Yeah, Deuteronomy. If you got it, go for it.
When a man have Deuteronomy 24 verse 1. When a man have taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house.
Okay, now I want to touch on this for just 1 second, because this particular law that is being spoken about here is not what Christ is talking about. In the law, it says he who has found some uncleanness in her.
Right.
Okay, but in this law, in what Christ is talking about, he starts off talking about adultery, if you notice, and then he says, it has been said that whoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writ of divorcement. If you notice, there's nothing there about she's done anything wrong.
Right. So
okay.
In Deuteronomy, the first 24, the first verse, it says, if the wife has uncleanness in her. And the problem with that is that people started putting their wives away for everything.
Exactly.
I don't like the way she looks. She doesn't clean well enough. She doesn't clean the house well enough. She doesn't cook good enough. So they were writing their wives divorce decrees for every little thing, especially when they had lust in their hearts after something else.
Exactly. And let me get back to our problem for just 1 second.
Okay.
We got into arguments, and I emotionally pulled away from you, put you in a position to allow you to speak to someone else about other things, which is exactly what Christ is talking about here when it says, but I say unto you that whoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication,
which is uncleanness,
right, causeth her to commit adultery. So just like we were talking about a moment ago, me and you got into an argument. I put you in a position where you felt like you needed to talk to somebody else, just like this verse causeth them to commit adultery.
Right. I felt like he wasn't giving me the love that I needed, because, everybody needs somebody to love and care for them. And I was married, and I didn't feel like I was receiving that love. So I went searching for it, and I was completely wrong. It doesn't matter what he did or how he treated me. I was completely wrong, and I'm not trying to make any, oh, well, it's because of this, because it's not. Because he made choices, so did I, and I was wrong.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Can we not do therapy? I mean, I didn't know we were doing therapy.
I'm not doing therapy. I'm just stating my case. I'm not trying to sugarcoat the fact that I was wrong.
Okay, well, let's move back to, let's get back to this particular verse.
Okay.
Although, this does bring up a point. The whole point of why we do these and why this whole series is going on, especially with the word, is to get you to examine your own life, things that have happened to you personally, and examine your life against the word and see for personal growth. That is the whole idea.
Right, and trying to cut out those things or change those things that lead you to sin. You know, a lot of times we continue to make the same mistakes because we don't truly learn. You know, we may feel bad. You know, I felt bad after me and my husband got back to being on one accord with each other, and I still do feel bad because of how I had gone so far away. But feeling bad is not enough. You have to actually figure out the cause of the problem and cut it off. Cut it out. Get rid of it. Stop it. You know, if you know something is a temptation for you, you need to flee away from it.
Right. And that's actually what he's talking about in the prior verses. The pluck your eye out, cut your hand off. That's what those verses are literally about. I mean, that's exactly what's going on there.
So then you have these men who get divorced for some other reason other than fornication, and they go out and they marry someone else. Well, they have now committed adultery because God didn't say that it was okay, that this divorce was okay. So they've divorced, they've married something else that they thought was better, and now they are in the midst of adultery. And, well, their hearts had already gone off. They were already bad, so them being in the midst of adultery, that's whatever. But their wife, on the other hand, who wants that love and goes out and looks for something, if she marries someone else, she's also in the midst of adultery. So they're causing, everybody's just, you know, sinning. It's just a whole sin fest going on.
Exactly. Now, and that's something else. I do want to bring that up. A lot of people look at the last part of 32 as if it only applies to her. And whoever shall marry her that is divorced. Okay, so this is actually talking about the guy who got divorced. When they marry her, committeth adultery.
Right.
Okay, this is not just about these are not just verses about the wife. These are verses about both.
That's right, because if you go back to Deuteronomy, if you go back to the law, to Deuteronomy 2, it says, after he's given her the divorce decree, Deuteronomy 24 verse 2, it says, and when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. So if you divorce a person and she, for uncleanness, and she departs and she marries someone, she can marry someone else. But that's not her committing adultery.
That's correct, because that relationship has now already been broken because of whatever the uncleanness was.
Right.
And new relationships have formed after that.
Right. So it's you sent this person away without cause.
Right. Okay. So I want to take this before we leave this subject, because we've been talking about this whole subject in terms of husband-wife relationships.
Right.
But I want to look at it in a spiritual aspect for a second.
Okay.
Because adultery is also used as a symbol throughout the Bible to talk about spiritual adultery. This is leaving the Most High to worship someone else.
Right.
So, looking at some of those particular verses, if we can look over at Jeremiah 3, over in Jeremiah 3, it's 3 and 6. Do you have those verses?
Man, don't rush me.
I didn't tell you in advance. I'm sorry.
You. Okay, Jeremiah 3, verse 6 through 11.
Just start at 6, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, Hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel have done? She is gone up upon every high mountain, and under every green tree, and there hath played the harlot. And I said, after she had done all these things, Turn thou unto me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away, and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
Let's stop right there.
Okay.
So let's look at what the Most High did. And if you'll notice, the Most High not only made the law just for us, he follows it.
Right.
Okay? So as he says here, if you think of it this way, it's a marriage relationship between us and the Most High, between Israel and Judah and the Most High. And Israel had backslid, and he uses the same verbiage as you would with a married relationship. Mm-hmm. A wife that has gone off and played the harlot under every green tree and on every high mountain. And the reason he's using high mountain and under every green tree is because in other places it talks about people going up on mountains to worship and creating groves and worshiping in groves. That's why he uses those as that particular example. But he talks about how Israel had backslid, committed adultery, and he had put her away and given her a bill of divorce.
Right. But before you move on, I also want to talk about the fact that she committed adultery and he asked her to come back to him. He didn't say, oh, you've committed adultery, I'm done with you, and just get rid of her at first. He went through asking her to come back. So some people say that if someone commits adultery, then you have to divorce them. And this is kind of off topic, but it's not true. You don't have to divorce them. You can go to the Most High and try to work out your relationship.
Right.
But then if they won't stop that behavior, then you have every right to get rid of them. Exactly.
And now this particular verse is actually to Judah, but it's talking about what happened with Israel.
Right.
It's a warning verse. Jeremiah 3 is a warning verse to Judah to turn from their ways, or they'll end up like. I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't want to leave that out.
Okay.
All right. So this has been a pretty good little talk in a therapy session, which I wasn't necessarily prepared for. As you know, we do talk a little bit about what we're going to do, but we don't write all this stuff out ahead of time. So I was unprepared for the confessional there. But okay. All right. So once again, I want to thank everybody who takes a few moments to listen to us talk about these verses, try to break them down. If you have a different way of seeing these verses, please let us know in the comments.
Or make a video about it.
Absolutely. The more you can, each of these verses have layers. And depending upon your life experience, you're going to see something a little bit different. You're going to see something a little bit different, and it may illuminate the rest of us and let us all know, help us see this diamond from every side and learn more and more about it.
Because that's the only way that we can grow as a people is by learning from each other and building on what somebody else has already started.
Absolutely. Steel sharpens steel.
Iron sharpens iron.
Okay, iron sharpens iron. Whatever the verse. I understand. I'm with you. So please let us know your thoughts. Make a video or a comment. Give us a like
or dislike.
Share the information. Let us all know what's going on. Do you have anything else?
Kwame Asherah.
Bye.